Panasonic GH6, ladies and gentlemen, is our today's hero of the day. So let's start with ergonomy, then we will talk about image quality, video quality, special features, autofocus, and everything you would like to know about that camera. So I had the pleasure to work with that camera. I took it to southern Portugal. Well, I live in southern Portugal, but I took it to Feragudo to test it out. Okay, ergonomic wise, this camera is really great. The grip is deep, and you know, everything is really like well made. You have two record buttons, one on the top, one on the bottom. So for those who work like that, this is a perfect solution. So you can have your fingers like ready for every situation you can imagine. You have like full-sized HDMI, which is highlighted to me because this is how all cameras should be made, like with full-sized HDMI, no need for converters. Then you have a screen that can tilt. You have two, you see, positions for tilt, and it can flip. So you can see yourself in the camera, or you can work like that if you like it. However, if I'm not filming myself, I prefer this tilting screen. So you have a big like cooling system like visible here. In the back part, you have a lot of buttons that you can customize. You have ISO button, like exposure button, white balance button. You have like this dial to change the modes, the speed of the camera. You have, of course, PASM with lock. You have like special button here to customize your, like to work with your autofocus system. You have joystick for autofocus system, quick menu button. So you have pretty much everything you would expect from that camera. So ergonomy wise, it is a very good camera. Now let's talk about image quality, and let's start with photographs. I was honestly pleasantly surprised with that camera because, like, first of all, I like Panasonic colors. So since I tested S5, I'm not in love with Panasonic colors because this is something not to be in love with, but those colors are faithful, are very neutral from the very beginning. So if you want neutral colors, you can leave them like they are straight out of the camera. But if you want to be creative, you have neutral colors as a, you know, as a basis for your photography, you know, process, and then you can tweak it, you know, wherever you want. You can take it wherever you want. So colors are very natural, very nice, and I like them. And no matter if it's like bright sun or, you know, golden hour or blue hour, colors are very much like appreciated, I would say, like very much there. Okay, second thing is dynamic range. Dynamic range is honestly not bad, and I was like surprised because I didn't have contact with Micro Four Thirds system for quite a while, and well, I tested OM1 recently. However, those cameras, I find them very different. However, I like the image from GH6, and I gotta say that unless you want to, you know, photograph some very extremely contrasty scenes, then, you know, this camera might not be the choice for you. However, if you are, you know, aware of the fact that you have a Micro Four Thirds sensor, this camera produces a very nice image. When it comes to high ISO performance, it's not bad. However, I would make a use of brighter lenses and maybe extend the time of your exposure to avoid high ISO, because for me up to 300-200 it's usable. Above that it's pretty noisy, specifically if you want to, you know, boost the shadows. You can see a lot of grain. The grain is pretty even, so it's easy to remove in post, you know, to reduce amount of noise. However, I don't find this to be the most pleasant or, you know, good thing to do. So be aware of, you know, dark parts of the picture, that those can be really noisy. However, this camera does have an amazing image stabilization that makes it possible for you to handheld a very sharp 1 second exposure. For example, this exposure is, if I remember well, 0.6 seconds, which I would normally never try even to hold with my hands. I would use a tripod, but in this case I'm saying like, okay, I'm giving it a shot. I was at 25 millimeters, so 50 millimeters, nothing like too like wide, but 50 millimeters. So normally you would see, you know, some motion blur here. However, this picture, for example, or the other picture, taken with the same method is sharp. So this thing rocks when it comes to image, like image stabilization for photographers. This is really, really great. However, having said that, just be aware that it's still a micro four thirds sensor. It's new, it's the processing is better, and everything improved, but you have to be aware that high ISO might not be the best thing for GH6. Now let's talk about image stabilization, and let's move to video quality section. So image stabilization is pretty awesome. Like, I'm walking here, not paying attention to anything, just holding camera like I'm stupid and I don't know how to hold it steady, and camera is doing like really good job trying to stabilize that shot, and I'm impressed. When it comes to handheld video, this camera offers like this boost system that is not designed to move, but just to film like you were on a tripod, and it works very good. But I don't find it to be necessary to turn it on, because like just holding this camera with normal like stabilization that use both stabilization in the lens and in the body is enough for me to create a steady shots, not tripod shots, but steady shots, and it gives you a little bit of like nice cinematic movement, but not too much. So this is, to me, perfect. When it comes to autofocus, continuous autofocus is doing pretty good job. So face tracking in vlogging situation works really good. And you can see for yourself right now. In a scenario when my son runs toward the camera, it's also pretty good. However, autofocus system is not perfect when it comes to work against the light. So if you have a harsh light against the lens, and your face is in shadow, this autofocus can really get lost. However, having said that, it applies to like 99% of cameras out there, so but something to keep in mind. However, autofocus performance both in photography and videography, I would say, is okay. I'll be honest with you, it's really good. However, still, if autofocus is your thing, I would recommend Sony and Canon as a second place. However, GH6 is doing pretty good job here. So if autofocus is not crucial to you, it's not the most important feature of the camera, then GH6 might still be something you would like to look at. And image quality in general is very good, specifically in good light conditions, like videos from that camera, like 50 frames per second, 4K, 800 megabits. It just looks great. There's no doubt about it. When it comes to video quality in low light, like you see 5000 ISO right now, it starts to be noisy. So again, micro four thirds, don't go above 300, 330, 200. Like, use brighter lenses, because it will give you this extra depth of field, even if you open it all the way, like to 1.4, let's say, or if you can find brighter lens to 1.2. Then you have this advantage here, that thanks to the smaller sensor, you get a little bit more of this depth of field, and you can still have your subject in focus if this is something you are afraid of in case of very bright lenses. So 3000, 3200 would be something that I would recommend as a maximum to shoot with this camera, and this looks really, really good. So to sum up, I had a lot of fun using this camera, and this image stabilization is amazing. Photo quality was really pleasant, is really pleasant. I like the colors out of the camera. I like the ergonomy of the camera. I like the video quality of the camera. I like the build quality and this tilting and flipping screen that I would love to see in every camera out there, Sony, Canon, Nikon, whatever camera or OM system out there, or Fuji, maybe even specifically with Fuji. That would be a very nice addition to the system, to my second system that I use. So I definitely would recommend GH6. However, having said that, if you are wondering, should I upgrade? There's one downside of that camera, which is battery life. So GH5 and GH4, GH5S were like notorious for, or well known for, their eternal battery life. In that case, because of all the functionality and active cooling system, I guess, and very advanced image stabilization. I think this camera eats battery way quicker than previous generations. So that's something to keep in mind if that's the thing you would look at, like for example, if you're shooting weddings. So that might repel some of people that were thinking of upgrade. But to add a little bit of value to GH6, something that I didn't mention before, and I think this could be one of the most important reasons to get this camera, is dynamic range boost system. So you have, in video mode specifically, you have a dynamic range boost system that gives you extra stops of dynamic range, and this is something new to to GH6, introduced in GH6. And this is something that a lot of videographers would appreciate a lot, specifically those for whom this camera is, designed for, those who use advanced features to grade their footage. So dynamic boost is, to me, the main reason to upgrade to that camera. And I left that for the end because the best, is like a cherry on the top. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed my quick review of GH6. I could talk about this camera for a long time. However, I wanted to focus on highlights on the most important things that I find important for you guys to know before buying that camera. So if you like that review, please don't forget to leave thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, leave comments below, ask what would you like to know about GH6, and I see you guys in the next one.